Hi everyone. So network security or firewall migrations is one of the most common services that I deliver here in my regional market. And I thought I should share with you my experience or the blend of experience that I have with my customers. And thank you for being here. I hope I am informative and useful for you guys. So, pre-engagement assumptions pertaining to it is understood like we are in a post-sales activity at this time and stage. The sale has already been done. The project has been awarded. Well, most of the time, sometimes we might be in a scenario where we have put a sort of a POC or evaluation appliance within the customer premises, and it was actually put into production at that time. And at this stage, we are actually going to the customer just to replace this appliance with a production appliance. So that's rare, but that is there as well. So at this time and stage, a scope of work has been communicated. It has been done in the pre-sales activity. Certain objectives were decided. In the sense, when we decided the firewall, we decided what security services we would bundle with the firewall. Like, would it have an antivirus license? Would it have a sort of an application inspection license, or a sort of an SSL decryption license, or stuff like those? Depends what firewall you are going to and what features are exhibited by those firewalls. So design changes or network restructuring your objectives. For example, like if I am doing an installation of the firewall in the segment where we have north-south traffic, usually the internet perimeter. So in those segments, usually we know we will be having one or an additional ISP would be added later to the scope of work. We would be terminating a sort of a WAN router service on the firewall itself. We will be introducing a new DMZ zone, or it happens as well. We are sometimes required to decommission or sort of take out an upstream router, a very old router in most of the cases. So whether this deployment is a greenfield, is a site built from scratch, or is it brownfield, a site that has been already live and it has an existing firewall, so that would have been investigated as well. At this stage, before we actually communicate with the customer, we assume the equipment and the licenses are with the customer, and the vendor support portal for the customer is created and ready for the device registration. So at this time and stage, we know whether we are deploying an internet perimeter firewall, which is for the north-south traffic, or a data center firewall, which is a sort of user filtering services going to the server zone, or a server to server communication. Also, we as a reseller would have put our terms as the support period that we will give after this installation or deployment or migration. So it's a very good area to work in, greenfields. It gives you the exposure of building things from zero. You will do a scratch installation over there, but since you are doing a firewall installation, it is recommended to have like a certain subset of the network ready, so that at least you can test the network flow and accordingly test your security policies and security services. So it's fun to look into your industry standards over there, if like whether you are doing this deployment in health sector or you are doing it in an education sector. So you will have a lot of time to explore what sort of industry standards are dominant over there, and you will have a lot of use cases and white papers for firewall deployments in those domains. And of course, accordingly, per firewall, you can dig out the best practices and you can deploy them instantaneously and configure them instantaneously. So this is a good thing. In parallel, in Greenfields, we do not tend to have any issues if there are parallel projects within the IT infrastructure going on. We do not like that when we are in a brownfield, because we tend to minimize changes done with other projects. So in greenfields, you don't have this issue. And zero touch provisioning, ZTP, is something fun to do for your branch side deployments especially. So you package the firewall with certain base deployment, and in some vendor case you actually do it from their factory. So the firewall is shipped to your branch from the vendor, pre-configured with certain base configuration, which enables that firewall to connect to your network security appliance or network security application. Yeah, so this is regarding Greenfield. So it becomes really challenging to go through a brownfield deployment, and yeah, it feels like Hell's Kitchen. So it is a live environment, and it requires you to change with low or no impact. Certain changes on day-to-day basis are going on within that infrastructure or information system architecture. So that is there. So they will definitely give you maintenance windows, but those maintenance windows would be very small. I mean, if it's a mission critical area, it would be less than 5 or 10 minutes. They would be late night. They will be early in the morning, sometimes at weekends. So you have to put in perspective the mission criticality. If you are in a hospital or in a bank, each and every minute counts over there. So you have configuration change control systems, especially in banks, and there are approval processes that goes on with them. So and even in aviation authorities, I mean, we had an experience over there, we waited for at least 2 months to get one approval done. And so your best shot in doing a migration in these environments is to a like migration, minus features or plus features. So, but your major objective when you are replacing a firewall with another firewall is to do a like migration, and this is your best shot. And then we should have then the objective should of course be to have operational stability. I mean, this is one of the major things that should be there. So you change and you have to sit there and wait for each and every operational aspect of the enterprise to become stable. And this requires close observation, because you as an installer would definitely see like any change, or I'm sorry, like any sort of an incident would automatically become related to your change over there. So keep in mind, make yourself operationally stable and make sure there are less and less changes going on until that notion of stability is reached. And security objectives. So you have some certain security objectives to achieve with the firewall migration, but make sure they are non-disruptive. Yeah, we need to secure, we need to have this IPS or this antivirus or this sandbox or this content filter working over there, but make sure you do them step by step, and you do them in a way they do not disrupt the sort of vital operations. ZTP becomes challenging on in a brownfield or branch sites. Usually has been observed in a retail like sort of a sector. We have seen in the retail sectors, like what happens is the point of sale system usually become operational from 8 a.m. and they are working till like 12 p.m. at night. And so the thing is, for you to replace a branch firewall in those sites, you require a certain maintenance window where you can test the network connectivity, the security functionality, and the point of sale systems as well in that branch. So customer and site readiness. Yeah. So yeah, you have to make sure where the coffee bar is. Yeah. So the first thing you have to make sure of, like, the firewall admins are really there for you, and they would consistently remain engaged with you for the duration of this change or migration. This is very vital. This the thing is, we mostly see like firewall admins, they are a part of the support team, and they are supporting many other like security systems. Usually they are either admins of the SIMs, or admins of the endpoint protection systems, or admins of certain log systems, or even network administrators. So the thing is, we usually put a notion to like the management, we need to offload some of the support aspects so that the firewall admins are there to complete this engagement successfully. So essential network and services teams are there to support you. You have the network people, you have the services people. So it's from the perspective of like you get a clear picture of how the services are functioning within that enterprise, and how the network people they are doing their day-to-day changes. So you just interact with them, you have a session, you know what is going on over there as well. So no parallel infrastructure. It is recommended not to have like other projects within the infrastructure going on. So you are deploying like a north-south firewall, somebody else is doing a deployment for an east-west firewall. It becomes really tough to fulfill those two engagements for the customer at the same time. And of course, you need to make sure like network and system changes are minimized using the migration. You need to inform the change control body, or the change control like configuration change control body or the management that is sitting over there, they have to be informed like this has to be minimized within this stage. And so the facility, the data center itself, you need to inspect that. Most probably that might have been communicated during the pre-sales. Nevertheless, you are on ground zero now. You can like see whether that space that has been okayed, whether it is there or not. So you allocate the space in the appropriate racks. You see power availability and what are the cooling considerations. So front to rear, rear to front movement of the air that is considered. Install near to network equipment, avoiding long cable runs. I mean, it is really recommended to have them very near to those equipment that are related to these firewalls. Like you have ISP cables getting terminated to some sort of CPE equipment, so recommended to have them near to those. And so if you have an HA deployment, it is well, it's usually customer from my side, but some customers do it like they have two firewalls into separate racks, but usually it becomes annoying to see a status of HA like if the firewalls are deployed into different racks. So I usually recommend to have them within the same rack over there above each other. And yeah, so equipment unboxing and staging, you are showing off your Simba now. So what happens is you are given actually a table by the customer, and that's what you have. So you put your equipment on the table, install the mounting brackets, start with the power boot test, just a physical investigation of the equipment, check for any factory or shipping defects, complete the registration process of the firewall, upgrade to the recommended OS version. If you have an HA appliance and you are actually testing or staging the second firewall, so it is recommended just to put up a generic HA configuration where you can sync the configuration between the two firewalls. You can do this later at a later stage as well. So you're doing all this with the temporary management IP assigned to the management interface or to the management VLAN of the firewall. You can actually, before you shut down the firewalls, now you can assign the actual IPs to the management interfaces of the firewall, which are actually allocated by customer to you. So, and the management access is recommended to be out of band. In case you shut down certain zones, it doesn't result like your loss of access to the management interface. And of course, you have to make sure like the firewall has access to the OS patches and dynamic software updates that are available in the respective vendors like update servers over there. Yeah, so that's it. So at this time and stage, we done most of the generic stuff, and we completed the staging of the firewalls and put them into their respective racks over there. Now in our upcoming slides, or in our next video hopefully, we are going to see how we will deep dive into the existing firewalls configuration and how we are going to translate this configuration to our new firewall. Of course, we are talking about two different vendors here. So we need to translate the configuration from vendor A to vendor B so that the configuration can work, and accordingly we will move on with the maintenance window and the migration process. Yeah, I'll see you in my next videos. Take care.